Summer's here, and there's no better time to hit the road. At AutoZone, we have the Duralast batteries you can rely on to drive with confidence. They're proven tough, even in the most extreme conditions. That's because they're designed to improve performance and provide your ride with a powerful startup. And they're available only at AutoZone, America's #1 battery destination. Visit us at AutoZone.com to get everything you need and start the job fast. Based on data from the MPD Group Incorporated, Car Care Track 12 months ending December 2018.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Stugatz here. Did you know Walmart offers 2-day delivery with no membership fees? That's right, none. Choose from millions of eligible items online and get what you need delivered right to your door. Think about all the things you could do now that you don't have to run to the store. You can finally stop putting off that dinner date with your wife. She'd love that. Or head to the water park with your kids. Whatever you do, remember to thank Walmart for putting some extra free time back in your life. 2 business day shipping, minimum $35 order. Restrictions apply.
Today, my new dad and I shot off a rocket in the park.
Today, my new son and I failed to shoot off a rocket.
He knew exactly what to do.
I had no clue what I was doing.
We set up the rocket.
Hit ignition.
And then?
And then nothing. Sometimes I laugh when I'm frustrated.
Then out of nowhere, the rocket launched into the air.
The rocket did get into the air.
I've never seen anything fly so high.
And then crashed into a kite.
Look out! Look out!
And then the pond.
I'll never forget that day.
I'll never forget that day, even if I tried.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of kids in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
In the forest near the side of the road.
No need for alarm, sir. The forest is where bears live.
But this was no ordinary bear.
No ordinary bear?
Yeah, 1 second I'm having a smoke taken in the view. Next thing I know, I am face to face with Smokey Bear.
Let me guess, Smokey had a tip for you.
He did. He must have seen me toss my cigarette on the ground. He told me never to do that because it only takes 1 spark to start a wildfire.
He's a smart bear. Did you know that 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans? That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
That's what Smokey said. I had no idea.
That's why Smokey's famous, and you're not.
Good point.
If you see someone in danger of starting a wildfire, step in and make a difference, because 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Calling all Gator fans. Time to get down and dirty in the swamp.
Tony to the end zone. Caught.
Touchdown. Here comes Ramoso, and the Gators win. Jordan Matthews is a postseason hero. ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1 brings you Go Gators every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Go Gators on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. Brought to you by the Holman Law Firm.
Tap Book Bar and Bistro is the South's premier destination for high-energy sports entertainment. Enjoy award-winning food and a wide variety of draft beer selections with a local flair. Featuring a giant video wall, dozens of HD TVs, and a smoke-free video poker bar, there's no better place to be for sports entertainment. Join us at Tap Book Bar and Bistro, only at Beau Rivage. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Around the clock, Redwire is working for you. As security experts, they're committed to 24/7 customer service and professional installation to secure your business and home. Redwire operates a nationally recognized monitoring center here in the Florida Panhandle, where their trained specialists use innovative technology to ensure fast response times whenever you need them. If you are looking for affordable security, look no further than your own backyard. Redwire, real expert security.
It's almost fall, and that means football. And ESPN Pensacola 1330 is all about football. We've got UWF Argos football every Saturday, high school football every Friday night. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1 WEBY Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Happy Wednesday. Welcome into the program. It is Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330 on the AM and on the FM 99.1. If you're listening on 94.5, haven't made the switch over, we're still on there. Won't be for too much longer, but a much more enhanced signal to bring you all the best in local, national football and sports coverage overall. I'm Joe Ford. In studio with Coach K. Coach, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Good to be with you, Joe.
Absolutely. So, let's get this out of the way here. A lot of exciting changes are happening here at ESPN Pensacola. Of course, we're now just a few days away from the start of the college football season. So once college football gets underway in the NFL, it's going to move really fast, and we have high school football getting started this week. Davis Allen, the program coordinator here for ESPN Pensacola, he was at the school board meeting yesterday. The school board approved the contract for us to be able to broadcast the high school games this fall, and our schedule gets started this week on Thursday. We have Escambia High School against West Florida tomorrow, and then on Friday we'll be at Washington High School as they host the Pine Forest Eagles. So an exciting week for local football fans around here, both high school and college, and the NFL, of course, in the middle of preseason. They'll get started in early September. Along that note, with the high school coverage, Brian Ahas with the PNJ, a fabulous reporter. He has been busy with the 13 and 13 series, writing up each day a different high school football program in the area, doing a tremendous job with that. He will be joining us every Thursday, starting tomorrow, to really dive in on the area high school football games, some of the big matchups to look out for, looking ahead to any features that he may be looking to do or working on. So tomorrow the plan is for him to be in studio with us for the entire hour, getting to know him, and we'll of course have plenty of high school football talk for you as we get set to kick off the season tomorrow night. Now, for the first couple of weeks at least, the high school football game of the week will be on our sister station, News Radio 1620. Of course, the Blue Wahoos, with their season still going on, we're still carrying their games until the season ends, and then we'll make the switch for the high school programming over to ESPN Pensacola. But for the first couple of weeks at least, we'll be on News Radio 1620. So, Coach, I'm excited to get going. Had a chance to meet with the coaches over at Washington and Pine Forest, and hope to do the same today with Escambia and West Florida. So the preparation is well underway, Coach, and I'm looking forward to experiencing.
Listen, let me tell you, I'm excited, and I think our audience out there will be excited for us to present this year an in-depth look at local high school football. I'm excited to hear you and Brian talk about. We couldn't have two better people to talk about it. Brian is the recognized newspaper or print media expert on it, and you're going to be doing play-by-play. Between the two of you, we should have the real lowdown on high school football.
Absolutely. And if I may, just kind of implore for folks who may be listening, who aren't really taking a special interest in high school football. I know that some of the programs around here really struggle with participation, but I also know that a big problem in the area, in talking to the coaches, is the attendance, and that they don't really get the attendance numbers that they would like to see. And I'm hoping, that I can do my small part to change that. And I think there is maybe an idea that, because there's a broadcast on the radio, that people shouldn't or don't want to go to the games. I don't really see it that way. I see a high school football broadcast as a way to kind of enhance the overall experience and provide athletes a bit more exposure than they otherwise would get. So my encouragement would be to you is the listener, if you've never really taken an interest in high school football, to really take the opportunity and to really just understand the talent that these kids have in our own backyards.
Well, high school football is a hot commodity in this area. I mean,
yeah.
It's good football. When you look around the country, the great recruiting areas, they talk about Florida, they talk about Texas, they talk about California, certain areas of Alabama and Georgia. So this happens to be as potent an area as most of the areas in this country. I'll tell you, it's just it's very good high school football. So if you want to see the kids that are going to be playing college football, see a great brand of football, go out and support these high school kids because they do a heck of a job. I think broadcasting or having the games broadcast over radio is something that goes on in this area back many years.
Sure.
When I was playing, obviously the games were broadcast and primarily, if nothing else, to get the away games. Whatever's going on
right.
in away games.
Yeah, and so just to add to that, Coach, and talking with the coaches over at Pine Forest and Washington, you get to talk to them and they kind of get to go through the roster and a lot of a broadcaster's preparation is kind of understanding, okay, like what do the starters look like? What does the two deep look like? Who are some guys standing out that will feature in the broadcast just because of outstanding plays that they make. But I think it's also important to recognize the contribution that everybody on the team is making, and it's not just the quote unquote stars that are putting in the time and effort. It's everybody on the football team. But you hear about guys on both of these teams in particular, scholarship offers to major Division I programs. The quarterback for Pine Forest has a scholarship offer to the Naval Academy. Really impressive kids, both athletically and the smarts to go with that. And it's a shame to think that we would, as a community, take that for granted. But in some ways, I think that we do. Take a night. If you have a couple of kids, especially ones who are interested in football, take them out to the local high school game. It's very cheap, to go with the family there. You get to see quality high school football, and then of course, to be able to years down the line say, hey, the kid who is now on CBS, for the SEC on CBS or ESPN primetime, hey, to be able to look at your son and say, hey, do you remember when we saw him at Washington High School or Pine Forest or Escambia? Those are the things that I think kids and especially parents they really appreciate about what high school football can mean.
Sure, and that's it's just it means a lot. It means a lot to the kids. I'll tell you what else too that I hope and I'm sure that we'll do is along the way also promote the scholarship involved and the merit of high school athletics. There are certain things that are not what you'd like to see, unfortunately, around the country, but not that much. Most of the participation in high school sports amounts to a very, very beneficial opportunity for the kids. So we want to, and I'm sure you guys will promote the scholarship along with the athletic ability as well.
So again, looking at the programming this week, we have 2 games coming up tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. It will be Escambia High School against West Florida. 7 o'clock on Friday, Pine Forest against Washington High School. Both games starting at 7 o'clock, and on our sister station, News Radio 1620. Again, Brian Ahaz, PNJ sports reporter, has been doing a great job all summer long with his 13 for 13 series. We expect him to be in studio tomorrow. We'll work to confirm that, but we do expect him to be talking with us once a week, every Thursday, with a look ahead to the area's big games. So we're looking forward to getting to know Brian over the course of the fall. And certainly a valued asset to the community, and in telling the stories that we don't always know about until we have reporters that are going out there and really diving in and talking to the coaches, talking to the players. So very excited for our high school coverage coming up this fall.
I want to have him pick the games like he does in the paper too while we have him on. Just to jump here, I think we need to before the break. There's something pretty big coming up on Saturday. It's the start of college football, and Florida and Miami in this area is a huge game.
Sure.
I was interested yesterday. We had, for those of you who missed it, we had Danny Sheridan on, and he's always extremely interesting to have on. But anyway, he picked the first 2 big games that we had him give us a pick on were Florida, Miami, and the Auburn-Oregon game. And he picked Florida to win by double digits. And he picked Auburn, I think, by a considerable amount over Oregon. Now, I don't know that I agree with him totally on the Oregon-Auburn and about Auburn in general. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how Florida. He's right. Florida's got some questions with that offensive line and whether they can hold up against a good Miami defense. And you can bet Manny Diaz, who is their head coach and a former defensive coordinator, is going to give them a game plan defensively that will give them the best opportunity to take advantage of Florida's blocking schemes against when they're going to throw the football. So I think that's going to be the interesting piece. But I've said this, and I say it again. I think Florida's defense is going to really be the key early in the season, first 2 or 3, 4 ball games. They may, I hate to use the word carry them, but a large portion of the work is going to have to be done by their defense.
And the other big news that broke after we had done the show yesterday, Coach, and this is something that we'll talk about later in the show more in depth, but Auburn announcing their starting quarterback, Bo Nix. So I'm curious to know from your perspective how, if any, that maybe changes what we have seen from a Gus Malzahn offense, usually pretty aggressive, a unique type of offense, a lot of misdirection, a lot of movement. So I'm curious to know from your perspective how Bo Nix will fit into that if we maybe see Gus Malzahn tailor his offense a bit. Certainly think that as a true freshman, you don't necessarily want him going all out with the passing game, especially against a good defense like Oregon in Week 1, but we will have to wait and see on that. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Coming up next, Mike Ryan is going to join the program, and Coach, this is a guy he was very heavily involved in the media business, spent a lot of time covering sports. So what can our listeners expect to hear from Mike up here in a little bit?
Well, first, he's extremely interesting guy. He gives a great interview. I like to have Mike on from time to time because he has a broad range of the football universe, I call it, from college to pro, and always has, and he keeps up with it, and he articulates very distinctly what you'd like to have in the way of an answer. But Mike, just to give you a little background on Mike, for those of you who don't know him, he's a former USA Today sports columnist, writer. He was vice president of the Arizona Republic He was a managing editor of the Pensacola News-Journal at one time. Has his own media consulting company now, and has written numerous articles that have been successful. Has a book out now. So just an interesting guy, and I think you'll enjoy hearing some of the comments that Mike has on a number of different topics we're going to get into.
Yeah, well, we'll get him on the horn right now and take a time out. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. I also scored a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, not for sale to minors. Website restricted to adults 21 and over.
Let's be real. Most smokers aren't looking for some overcomplicated vaping machine. That's why we created My Blue. My Blue is simple. Our pre-filled liquid pods mean there's no mess. One charge and My Blue lasts all day. And with our range of flavors and nicotine options, you have a choice. My Blue answers on what matters for smokers. Real nicotine satisfaction.
Find My Blue in a store near you or order online, myblue.com.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
At ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1, we are football. Catch the biggest high school football games on Fridays. Every UWF game on Saturdays. Then on Sundays, get ready for big games with the NFL Tailgate Show from 10 till noon. Plus, talk football with Coach K weekdays from noon till 1, recapping the games and breaking down the upcoming matchups. It's football season, and it's on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K. Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, FM 99.1. Coach K and Joe Ford in studio with you as we're midway through the week. Happy Wednesday to you. High school football coverage starts tomorrow. Sister station News Radio 1620. And we'll be at West Florida. Scambia High School versus West Florida Thursday. Friday night, coming back with Pine Forest against Washington High School. Both games starting at 7 o'clock again on sister station News Radio 1620. Quick programming note, the Blue Wahoos will be starting at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so first pitch time at 1:05, so we'll be going to that game as soon as we're done here on ESPN Pensacola. So if you're ever down in the dumps or you just need to pick me up, well, really the only thing that you need to do is get Coach K to read your biography. And Mike Ryan on the phone joining us now. Mike, quite the introduction we had for you last segment.
That was. I just hope I don't disappoint. It's very good. And congratulations, too. It's fantastic now that you both have an AM signal and an FM signal. And I hear you're booming all the way to New Orleans and Tampa. So it's good that your show's going to be spreading the word throughout the Southeast United States.
Yeah, we're extremely happy about it, Mike, and we appreciate you being on. Yeah, I gave your introduction before we went to break. Give everybody a little head up so they can get on to take a listen. I know we've got an awful lot of things going on, and I want to try to cover as many as we can. But it's amazing to me, Mike, that with all of the news that we should be covering, we got the starting of college football season tomorrow. We've had some unusually good performances by some young NFL players, in particular quarterbacks, who we were looking at. And yet, the news that comes out, I had my TV on this morning, and all the news that's coming out are from the divas, disrespect, and just absolute nonsense. You know, it kind of makes you sick to hear people talking about whether somebody said something unjust and whether it hurt their feelings or not, and whether somebody says that they were sent to a club to die. It's just amazing to me to hear all these things.
Well, it is.
So what are your thoughts, Mike?
Well, I mean, let's take that one first. The Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham. I mean, the thing about Baker Mayfield is he really wasn't saying anything that anybody else wasn't saying at the time that Daniel Jones got picked. I mean, New York fans, as you would well know, Kay, from being in the market, were outraged because they're going, well, why are you wasting your sixth pick, quote unquote, wasting your pick on Daniel Jones when you could be getting a defensive player because the Giants' defense last year was putrid. So all of a sudden, now people are starting to think a little bit differently because Daniel Jones, like you said, and you were one of the ones that preached the gospel of Daniel Jones before many people. You were very high on him, and rightfully so, it seems, because he's come into New York, and now the push pull is that maybe he should be starting over Eli Manning. So, in an interview like that, what happens is people will say a lot of stuff as somebody who's done a lot of reporting, and people will pick up on the most controversial stuff. So, I mean, I'm not really sure what Baker said was that outrageous. The one I'm sick of is Odell Beckham. Because, I mean, the fact is, it's just that he just seems that he can't get over, no longer being with the Giants. And I think every time the Giants read anything of this or see him talk about it, they're probably more and more convinced that they should have gotten rid of him when they did. And they probably should have gotten rid of him a year earlier. I mean, Odell Beckham, to me, has been overrated. And people are going, oh, you can't say that. He's so great. Well, the worst thing that ever happened to Odell Beckham was his one-handed catch against the Cowboys on that Sunday night. Because as somebody who watches a lot of Giants games, he's also dropped a lot of passes. And if you also remember, on the Sunday after he decided to take that cruise before the Giants playoff game and took some of his wide receiver friends, he dropped what would have been the first touchdown of the game. So, I mean, Beckham to me is just, it's just becoming tired.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. It's absolutely ridiculous, and then the fiasco that's going on, the sideshow that's going on in Dallas right now, is a close second. That's
you know what? It's interesting because I was thinking about this before we went on the air. If you ever did a poll question, the best poll question is, which story are you more sick of? Ezekiel Elliott or Antonio Brown. And you know what? That would be a tough decision. They talk about, making tough decisions. That's a tough one because they're both, I'm just so sick of both of the stories. And as you said, thankfully today the media had something else to talk about Baker Mayfield because it's been exhaustible coverage of these, of Ezekiel Elliott and Antonio Brown. And in both cases, I'd probably favor more of the, Zeke Elliott has a contract for a couple more years. He should be in camp. And the fact is that and he's costing his other teammates a potential of having a really good season because it's possible that he may sit out the beginning of the season and do like Le'Veon Bell did. And the other issue is that Kate, as somebody who's lived your life in football, when players aren't in camp, they, for some reason, tend to be more susceptible to injury. That they come in, they try to get ready, and then all of a sudden, the second or third game, they're out for, weeks on end.
I believe that to be true. I believe that to be true. I really do.
Yeah. And the Brown situation is just so annoying because the fact was he's known for a long time he was going to have to get a new helmet. And, for this to, and how dumb do you have to be to get in a cryogenic machine without proper footwear? But it's just this selfishness, as you said earlier. It's this diva-ness that is just so sickening.
Well, no question about that. And for us to be talking about something as ridiculous as him wanting to wear a helmet that's 10 or 11 years old, it goes beyond the pale. You shouldn't even have to talk about something like that. It's obvious. And Ezekiel Elliott, quite frankly, Mike, the truth be known, Dallas has his rights if they want him for the next 3 years. Either he sits out, he's got 2 years left on the contract, then they hold the key to the third year with a franchise. They can franchise him, and if they want to, they could do it a year again after that. So actually, they could keep him tied up for 4 years. And you just can't make a habit. You can't set a precedent of renegotiating your contract when there's less than a year. There needs to be a year or less left on the existing contract before you renegotiate, period. I think that should be an ironclad rule.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see an owner call in a player who, let's say, signed a multi-year contract but had a lousy first season, and call him and say, hey, you know what? We need to renegotiate that contract. We're paying you $13 million, Mr. Running Back, but you only gained 600 yards. And, you drop passes and stuff like that. So we need to cut your salary down to $6 million. Can you imagine the outcry? But nobody thinks on the other side it's anything wrong for people to go in and want to break their contracts and renegotiate.
Yeah, exactly right. And I've said the same thing. Glad to hear you say it. Listen, Mike, I'm going to jump around here a little bit because I want to get your thoughts on any number of subjects here. Let's stay with the NFL right now. What do you see? Where do you see the strength? And I guess the best way to do this, give me your top 5 teams in the NFL right now. If you had to say who is going to come in at the end of the season, give me your top 5.
All right, let me just. I would say number 5 would probably be the LA Rams, because if Todd Gurley is able to produce, then I think they could have a pretty good season. Number 4, Tom Brady gets all the mentions for being able to play at, going to be at age 42. But, Drew Brees is pretty amazing at what he's doing. And, they have, Alvin Kamara was a godsend. this Michael Thomas, seems he could easily be even better than Julio Jones as the best wide receiver in the NFL. So they would be fourth. 3, I'd probably pick Kansas City. I'll be interested to see how Patrick Mahomes plays in his second season.
Yes.
They should have a better defense. Steve Spagnuolo, who used to coach the Giants and was a head coach at one time, who's a defensive coordinator with Giants, and was the head coach of the Rams, and then he had a very disappointing stay in New Orleans. He's come in to lead the defense, and they have brought in Frank Clark and Dee Ford. So, I'm thinking their defense would probably be 3. It would be better, so I'll pick them 3. And then the last 2 really pain me because I can't stand either of them. The Philadelphia Eagles, I would say, is probably 2, depending on if Carson Wentz can stay healthy, which is a big if. And then number 1, it's like until it's like the title champ until the crown is taken away. I still think New England, and the reason too that I think they'll probably be good is because the AFC East is weak. They'll probably roll up more victories, where the Chiefs are going to be playing in a much more competitive AFC West, and they may not have as many end up as many victories. So it's easily possible that the AFC Championship will go through Foxborough.
Yeah, I think you're right. I like your 5, but I also like, and again, I like Philadelphia. I like Minnesota too. I think Minnesota's got a good that central division of the NFC is going to be wow with Minnesota, Chicago, and Green Bay in there. That's going to be a tough division to come out of. But I think Minnesota's got a well-rounded football team. They're poised, ready to do it. So you got to, there's some really good football teams, I think, in the mix this year. That's the moral to the story. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, no, I think so too, and it's going to be interesting to see how Kirk Cousins fares in his second year in Minnesota. And it's also going to be interesting to see how Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur work together in Green Bay, because we know from Aaron Rodgers' body language that he's probably wouldn't be too good at poker, because he pretty much shows his cards. So if he's not happy with Matt LaFleur, I'm sure we'll hear about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. That's going to be interesting. Also, I've got to throw another team in there. To me, an interesting team, because they've got so much talent, offensive talent, is Atlanta. Got a good quarterback. They've made some improvement now with their offensive line. They've got skilled people, Mike, that very few people can even contend with. And from receivers to running backs, they've got the whole gamut. I think, by virtue of the fact that their head coach, who's a former defensive coordinator, as you well know, is going to go back to being the de facto defensive coordinator, I think you're going to see that defense pick up some as well. So you gotta look at Atlanta as at least being a factor in there somewhere, and don't be too surprised if they're not right up there in the middle of all this. So interesting year coming up. No, you make a good point about Dan.
Make a good point about Dan Quinn, because the fact is, owner Arthur Blank, if the Falcons have another, lackluster year, I think you're going to see major changes in Atlanta, and so I think the pressure is going to be on. I think that's one reason Dan Quinn goes, well, shoot, if I'm going to lose my job, at least I'm going to go down, having it with my own defense instead of somebody else's.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I'm going to jump here, if we might. There are many more questions, many more things I'd like to get to in the NFL, but I'm going to jump to college football here. Now, the season opens up, of course, this Saturday with Miami and Florida. I'm glad to see they're playing again, quite frankly. I wish they'd get back to the rivalry we used to have forever, Florida-Miami. But had Danny Sheridan on the other day, and had some interesting picks on things. How do you see one? Do you see that game? And then I want to get with you on a couple of other questions on college football.
I think Florida and Dan Mullen are fortunate they're playing Miami the first game because I think eventually Manny Diaz will be able to turn around the Canes. As somebody who's lived in the program for so long, I think he's probably the right person to really kind of try to get it back up to the next level. I mean, Mark Richt tried, after he got bounced from Georgia, and for a while it looked better, but I think, for some reason it just never went any further. So I think Manny Diaz in Miami will probably be better as the season goes on. So, I think, I'd heard earlier, people thinking that Florida would by double digits, and that's probably possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that earlier because I really think their defense is going to have to carry them early in the season. I think there's some questions about their offensive line, and Danny was right about that. And there are a couple of other. I think they got a question at quarterback. He's going to have to come out and prove to me that he can start like he finished or near, somewhere near the way he finished last year, because up until the last 4 games of last year, I didn't think Florida had a quarterback. They were just rolling around with whatever they had. But anyway, we'll find out. We're going to find out a lot on Saturday. We know it's other than Alabama, Clemson. Danny had an interesting slant, and I want to see how you feel. But on the national picture, how would you see the of college football ending up at this point right now? I realize it's a little soon, but it's fun to do it.
Yeah, the thing about it is I think it's amazing. I think we're going to see a repeat of what we keep seeing. I think Clemson and Alabama will be in the mix, and it's really going to be kind of interesting to see who the other 2 teams are. Will Georgia be able to get back there? What about Ohio State? Texas is starting to show a little bit. The thing about it is, for college football's sake, it would be nice to see some, maybe some surprise teams at least rise up a little bit and make it interesting. Because, you look at Alabama's schedule and, you go, well, shoot. Where's a loss on that schedule, even if they really, played poorly. So, it's just unfortunate that in the end of August that we pretty much know who's going to be playing in the beginning of January.
Well, we don't, though. That's the key. We can speculate. It's fun to speculate, I guess, but we really don't. You still have to play these games, and anything can happen, as you well know. That's not just a worn-out cliche. It's true. Well, wait, let me ask you about because we don't get much news. How do you feel about? There's a lot of hype though going on about Herbert, the quarterback out at Oregon, and that Oregon program. They've got 10 starters coming back on offense. Their whole offensive line, an outstanding quarterback, got a pretty sound defense coming back, and Cristobal is projected to be a fine football coach. He's got some good credentials going in. How do you see the Pac-12 in particular, or in general, and Oregon in particular?
Well, I think Oregon's going to be interesting because I think most people thought Justin Herbert was going to declare for the draft. And I know Giants GM Dave Gettleman spent a lot of time scouting him because, the fact was, if Herbert had declared and he was available, he would have probably taken him over Daniel Jones. It was like, I think Daniel Jones ended up being the consolation prize because for the Giants. I think Oregon's going to be improved. I think that, Washington has certainly now reestablished itself as somebody under Chris Peterson that they're going to be strong every year. The key is going to be to see what happens in Los Angeles, to see if Chip Kelly, who, Florida flirted with for coach before he ended up going to UCLA, and with the situation at USC with Clay Helton, if he doesn't get this turned around, he's likely out of a job. And the person who probably could replace him is going to be sitting in a studio in Los Angeles, meaning Urban Meyer, who could just slide right in at USC. So I think it'll be interesting there. Utah supposedly under Kyle Whittingham is supposed to be better. Colorado as well. And then the two Arizona schools, Arizona State and Arizona, will both be in with second-year coaches, Herm Edwards with the Sun Devils and Kevin Sumlin with the Wildcats. So, right now you got to think it's probably Oregon and Washington, and Stanford always, kind of seems to play well, and they play a very competitive schedule, as you know. And then, the other two would be Cal and Washington State, which probably more the middle of the pack.
Yeah, and you mentioned Utah there as well. That'd be interesting there. Interesting that you said what you did about Helton and Urban Meyer. I said the same thing a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, in the program, that that might be the ideal landing spot for Urban. And just of interest maybe to you, the Helton really originates from Pensacola. His Kim Helton, his dad, was a Pensacola kid. They moved to Gainesville just before Kim went to high school. But anyway, Mike, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on. We're going to have to take a run here, but I do very much appreciate it. Love to have you back on at some point.
Hey, listen, I'm more than glad to be on with you, Kay. And again, congrats now on being on an AM and FM signal. You're owning the Southeast, and I'm glad to see it.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks again to Mike Ryan there. Good conversation, a lot of good insight there. We'll react to that. Also talk Auburn football, announcing our starting quarterback, Bo Nix. We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens. And they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
Welcome back to Sports View. Next topic. Is it really all about power? Makes me think of Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Gives you the power to find options based on your budget. Let's go to Chuck for an irrelevant analogy.
Man, back in the day, people didn't ask how many oranges are in the crate. They just took the oranges. They didn't say, are there 6, 7, 12, 15, whatever. It was just oranges. You get me?
We get you, Chuck. In a word, oranges.
Give it to us straight with the Progressive Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K. Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola, new home, 1330 AM, FM 99.1, also still on 94.5, at least for the time being. But if you haven't already, we would encourage you to make the switch. A lot larger signal, especially on the AM dial, 1330, and extending from basically New Orleans all the way to Panama City. So wherever you may be in the Florida Panhandle, chances are you're going to be covered with local programming here, and also ESPN's regular lineup here on ESPN. Coming up at 1 o'clock, the Blue Wahoos are in Jackson, Mississippi. They will get underway at 1:05. So no Stephen A. today. We'll have Blue Wahoos baseball for you at 1:05, and then back to 6:35 tomorrow, closing out the week. And high school football gets started this week, and we have 2 games on the schedule for you. We'll kick off the season on Thursday night at 7 o'clock, Escambia High School versus West Florida, and then coming back on Friday night, Pine Forest will travel to Washington High School. We'll have both of those games for you on our sister station, News Radio 1620. So, Coach, got a couple of minutes here. Wanted to really get your thoughts here. The announcement that Auburn had decided on Bo Nix as the starting quarterback, I think came as a little surprise. He was not considered the favorite. And my question for you, Coach, is Gus Malzahn is clearly in a situation where his job is on the line, as it seems to be more often than not. So electing to go with the true freshman quarterback, he certainly is not going to make this decision if he didn't feel that this was the best move for the football team this year, and I think big picture as well. So I'm curious to get your thoughts on what Auburn fans can expect to see from the offense, because Gus Malzahn is certainly not a prototypical offensive mind when it comes to the offenses that he's run, but we know he's made a lot as far as the running backs that they've had over the course of the last 5-6 years. So with the true freshman going under center against Oregon, a lot of returning starters on the offensive side of the ball, a pretty good defensive line as well for the Ducks, Coach. Your thoughts on what Auburn's offense will look like on a week from Saturday?
Well, I think there are very few people that can tell you exactly what their offense is going to look like with Malzahn. But we have an idea that it's going to entail more of what you saw when he was there before as offensive coordinator. He likes for the quarterback to be able to run with the football. Now, what I heard, let me give you a little insight. What I heard going back to spring practice, from somebody who knew quite a bit about football and watched their spring practice 2 or 3 days up there. He said at the time, Gatewood, I guess, was the other quarterback really in contention there with Nix, but and he was at least rumored to be the starter, going to be the starter. But what I heard back in the spring was that Nix was the better of the quarterback, the more talented kid. Not only did he have athletic ability, but he had the prototypical throwing motion, had a quick release, could get rid of the football, and had accuracy. He was more of a polished passer than the other kid. So it would seem to me, just based on that information back from the spring, from somebody who knows football, and now they've had all this fall practice and going up, now they're getting ready to play the real bullets are going to fly here, play a real ball game. And Malzahn has to know, it has to be obvious that Nix is the better, more talented one of the two. That's what it would seem to me. And the decision was not really a tough decision. It just Bang really had no choice because you know what else happens too, Joe, is the players know who the better of the two. If there's a situation like that where it's a contested position, they know the better of the two, and they want the better player out there with them.
Yeah, for sure. So it'll be Bo Nix starting against Oregon a week from Saturday, and looking forward to seeing how it shakes out there. As Auburn, the schedule maker, certainly didn't do him any favors this year. We've talked about that at length, but hey, you never know once we step on the field who comes out on top. So one of the more anticipated games of the college football weekend next weekend. Florida and Miami getting things kicked off on Saturday. All eyes in Orlando coming up on Saturday. College game day from Disney World, and of course high school football getting started this week. So a lot going on, and a lot of teams breaking in new faces at the quarterback position, including a couple of the real heavy hitters who we think will factor into the playoff conversation. Former SEC quarterbacks like a Jacob Eason, who hasn't officially been named the starter yet, although I think he's probably the favorite right now. Georgia transfer Justin Fields, no surprise that he's the starting quarterback in Jalen Hurts. And one interesting point that Danny Sheridan brought up yesterday was the fact that you look at who are the odds makers, favorites to make a run at the Heisman Trophy. I think of the top six, I think all of them are either currently on SEC programs or have transferred from SEC programs, and all of them quarterbacks. So certainly speaks to the recruiting acumen of schools and just the amount of investment that's going into recruiting. And players aren't able to make it happen at their SEC schools; they're finding opportunities elsewhere. So just more evidence of the power, the depth that the SEC possesses.
Yeah, I think so. That's a very, very interesting point, and certainly I don't think anybody would have any arguments with those points.
Oh, come back, take a time out, going through the other news and notes in the world of the NFL. We saw the Dallas Cowboys give a multi-year extension to one of their star players, but it wasn't anybody that we've been talking about necessarily. We'll talk about that next. Talk football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330, FM 99.1.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Introducing the next generation of SiriusXM with all new features, exclusively on the SiriusXM app and online. Enjoy over 100 ad-free extra channels filled with music for any mood. Create your own ad-free music stations with personalized stations powered by Pandora. Watch video of your favorite shows and performances, and listen in more places than ever because listening outside the car is now included in even more packages. Visit SiriusXM.com/connect to start listening today.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the Puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola is now on 1330 FM 99.1.
We're still doing this, right? This is actually happening. We're going to let this happen.
You can also listen anywhere. ESPNpensacola.com. Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K. Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 on the AM, FM 99.1. Coach K and Joe Ford with you in studio, wrapping up the Wednesday edition. Thursday, we're previewing some high school football. Brian Haas with the P&J will be joining us in studio, looking ahead to this week's action around the Pensacola area for high school football. NFL preseason week 3 kicks off tomorrow. The Carolina Panthers and the Patriots will be in action. A first look at the revamped throwing motion for Cam Newton, one of the big storylines that we'll be keeping tabs on as he comes back from shoulder surgery, and a lot of hopes, a lot resting on Cam Newton's shoulder. A couple of interesting tidbits here that we'll get to before we make way for the Blue Wahoos, again starting at 1 o'clock. The XFL, the second installment of the XFL. The commissioner is Oliver Luck, who, Coach, I know that you know and you've had on the program before. A really smart guy, and you can tell that the apple didn't fall far from the tree with his son Andrew, that's for sure. Oliver, a really smart guy, and he's tasked with kind of building up the XFL. New team names announced. We have the DC Defenders, Dallas Renegades, Houston Roughnecks, the Los Angeles Wildcats, New York Guardians, St. Louis Battlehawks, Seattle Dragons, and the Tampa Bay Vipers. So those are your XFL team names for the second edition. Coach, your thoughts on the new XFL briefly? You think it'll be a little bit different this time around, right?
Well, I know it is. In fact, we had Oliver on, and in case you didn't know, Oliver's giving up a athletic director's job at West Virginia. He's a former Rhodes Scholar, former head of the NFL Europe League. Just a very, very bright, resourceful guy, and would not be involved with anything like was attempted before with the XFL. I'm surprised they're even calling it XFL again, but probably with the name that they had and not having to go through all the licensing again and so on. But at any rate, it's going to be different. It's going to be run different. It's going to be they're not going to try to patronize a different group of people. It's going to be real football.
And I hope so. And I think that the sport is big enough for a second league that could maybe serve as a developmental league, give guys another opportunity to do that. The other big storyline in the NFL that we'll get to quickly, Jalen Smith, the linebacker who really thought his career was over before it began, suffered a very serious knee injury in his last college game for Notre Dame, rewarded with a 7-year contract with the Dallas Cowboys. Number is $64 million, 35.5 of which is guaranteed. So, Coach, you have to really feel good about a guy who came back from that type of injury to really blossom into what everybody thought he could be beforehand.
Absolutely. You got to feel good about that. I mean, that's one of the real success stories for the National Football League, and they should put it up on a pedestal. They really should.
So Jalen Smith, the Cowboy that got the big extension, maybe not what we were thinking of who would get it first, but again, Zeke and Dak Prescott still trying to get theirs. So that's going to do it for us today on a Wednesday. We'll be back tomorrow. Local high school football and more college and NFL talk coming up. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K. Pensacola Blue Wahoos baseball is next.
It's almost fall, and that means football. And ESPN Pensacola 1330 is all about football. We've got UWF Argos football every Saturday, high school football every Friday night. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional